Thank you for taking your time to come out. My name is Thomas Pendergraft. I am the president and founder of our nonprofit organization, Elevate, that focuses on mental health, mental and emotional health. We started this organization after a long line success of life coaching and mentoring and helping people clear PTSD, depression, and anxiety. And one thing when I realized when we got into emotional imbalances and imbalances in people's lives, the quantity of people I had to turn away that didn't have the funds to get the help that they needed. And thus the nonprofit was born. I have with me Bella V, who is the vice president of Elevate and who has a heart of gold. And I'm grateful to have her as my sidekick, my better half, one of our better coaches that we have. We provide solutions, techniques, and provide tools for a person to overcome the most tragic scenarios that they've ever faced in their life. Now, this isn't saying, well, they had it worse than me, and I don't compare to that person. We don't go there. Your worst is your worst, regardless of what that is. I don't know if anybody knows Wayne Dyer. Does anybody in here know Wayne Dyer by chance? You do back there. 75 years old. He's specialized in human development, a motivational speaker. He'd go into his conferences, and I really enjoyed it. And he started with this joke. He said, "I'm 75 years old. I'm healthy, I'm happy, and I almost get laid every day. I almost get laid on Monday. I almost get laid on Tuesday. Almost get laid on Wednesday. Almost. Did you get the joke?" Oh, I just thought I'd start with the light sense of humor real quick. I'm grateful for those who are joining us on YouTube. Thank you for tuning in to our live conference that we're holding right here in Salt Lake City, Utah. Thank you. And I hope that you get exactly what you need out of this conference. Matter of fact, I hope that there's something that I can share with you, that you get something that you've searched for your whole life. You see, some of the struggles of life and just life in general is, I know what I want, but I don't know how to get there. I don't know what I'm doing, or am I doing this right? And we go through the fumbles and the struggles, and it's like, how do I get that thing to show up in my world? I'm going to first thank one of our donors who we were able to hold the conference. We've held several conferences this year across the United States. Elevate Roofing, actually based right here in Utah County, has granted over $65,000 to our nonprofit organization, which we're able to not just hold these conferences, but have coaches that assist people for one-on-one assistance with coaching and mentoring, walking through self-development and human development, and walking through the things that we need. Those things are available, and that our organization offers just for you to elevate yourself, to overcome some of your biggest struggles, and to move forward in life. And so we're grateful for them, and we're grateful that we have the opportunity to be able to do that. I'm going to step into the reason of what we're really looking at in this conference. We are brought to the question and scenario well, how come all these things are going wrong in my life? Or how do I get that thing? And there's this big energetic knot that we're like, what is what? And I have been very passionate in times of my life and in realms of religion. I have been very passionate at times in my life in realms of politics. Like, that was the answer. If I stood in there and I helped out and I did my part, I would be able to set people free. Isn't that what politics is we initiate what's freedom and what's not freedom? And then I was able to transition and said, well, how could I help people individually work inside that will produce an outside result? And I fell on this principle, and it's not uncommon. It's probably overused, but it's love. And so what we're looking at in this conference is, how do we develop self-love and self-care? How do we have self-empowerment? Where are we capable of giving our power away to? How did I become powerless? What attachments, energetic attachments, have I placed? Who has taken a toll on my world and my realm? And I'm going to be the first to step into a very vulnerable space. That I say, regardless of all the judgments in the world, regardless of any person's paradigm to where they can put me and say, oh, you're that. I need to stand in a place where I love myself enough to where I say, I appreciate your opinion. That's interesting. And it doesn't affect who I am. So from the things that you hear from this conference, some may be personal, some are outwardly expressed, but I'm expressing them inside myself. I want you to know that there's awareness to our traumas, and it's how did those things get attracted into our world? Why are those things present? I spent many nights on my knees asking, why me? How could this happen to me? Are you flipping serious? Well, I got delivered this thing? And I'm going to share some experiences with you. And it's just in my personal life. You may get to know me really well by the end of the night. When I was 18 years old, I had this spiritual experience. And for the first time in my life, I was like, oh, wow, there's God. And it was the first experience. I grew up way religious in the Baptist denomination. And I'd go to church. I'd even go to church by myself. They'd send around this church bus, and they'd sing on the bus, and they'd give candy and goldfish, and they always had a treat on the bus on Sundays. And then there was the preacher's daughter, who I had the biggest crush on. She was my age. This was at like 10 years old, though. And I grew up going to church, and I was like, oh, when I grow up, I'm going to be a preacher, because guess what? She would only marry preachers. And that's what her dad was training her to do. And so I said, oh, I'm going to be a preacher. And I would just go to church, and I'd find the good in it. And when there was a point in my life when I was going through a religious crisis, and I found something that I said, oh, I want that, or I want that outcome, or family's so important to me, I want that thing. And I married this woman who absolutely had the appearance of what I was looking for. And it was absolutely devastating. I remember on my wedding day, I asked myself, should I be walking off the pulpit here? Because I'm seeing some things come out that I don't really like. And I remember the day I got home from my honeymoon, I was like, who did I just marry? Are you flipping kidding me? This person changed overnight. And then I really wanted to run. Matter of fact, I walked to my parents and I sat on the couch and I said, I don't know what I just did. And life went on. we went 6 months into our relationship and our marriage. And I remember the struggles. We moved from California, we got married, we're up Texas, here we come. We go to Texas, we're financially struggling, we're like negative in the bank account, we have not an arm to stand on, we're like sitting there in the turmoil of life, just this and that and everything else. And I was dealing with control issues and with other things that were showing up, and I was like, you can't eat chocolate, or you can't eat sweets because it's gonna raise this, and you're gonna give this disease and this outcome. And hold your fork this way. Don't chew your mouth like that. Walk like this. You're taking too big of steps. Sit like this. Wear this type of clothing. No, you can't wear Wranglers. No, you won't do that. I married you because you had the potential to change. And it was going on, and I'm going to tell you guys a story in our 6-month mark. I remember, so I was doing sales, and I was making a good income at the time. 6 months in, I was making about $1,000 a day. And on this specific sale, I was going to make $2,500. And I was running late. I remember running inside, getting ready, threw my nice jeans on, because I really like nice jeans. And for coming out of being completely poor 6 months ago to making good money, we hadn't broke the paradigm yet of, hey, it's okay for me to ruin nice jeans. I remember running to the door, got my books, and I was doing roofing sales at the time down in Texas. And I grabbed the doorknob, and I feel this hand come over and put their hand on my hand. And I looked over at her, and she said, "You'll go change your pants right now." And I'm like, what time is it? I'm way late, and this is a big sale. And I made a quick split-second decision. I said, I don't care what she has to say. I don't care whatever she thinks right now. I'm going out that door, and I got to go. And I don't care if I ruin my jeans. They were only $80 jeans at the time. I'm way above that now. And I was just like, we'll buy new ones. Big deal. I don't care if I have to replace them every month. Big deal. My income's now supporting that. And I go to open the door, and she turns me, and she knees me in the groin. I pushed her off of me. She didn't go flying into the wall. She didn't go flying onto the couch. I was just getting my space. I remember going to our the head of our church at that time, and he's like, "You should get a divorce." And I'm like, "Divorce? I don't believe in divorce. Like, I'm not getting a divorce. Like, no way. Like, I'm married for this reason, and that's it. Like, I'm going to get this thing." I remember in my marriage, me accusing her of, well, you're using me just to get to heaven. Like, you need me to get there. And she was stomping all over me while she did it. And I felt like I was so abused. I felt like I was so used. I felt like this woman didn't even love me. I have tons of good stories. Let me think of another one real quick. Let's see. It wasn't hard for us to get an emotional uprise and have an outburst of some phenomenal disaster of me washing the dishes the wrong way. The control was so insane that if I was scrubbing the dishes the wrong way, I was simply not getting something correct on the dishwashing. I remember I really flipped out when I went to dry the dishes, and there was like maybe a drip of water, and I put it in the cupboard. I'm like, no big deal. I'm doing the dishes. Like, I'm doing the good thing. Like, who to get mad at me, like I'm helping her out. And then an outburst of argument would explode in the kitchen. I eventually felt like, oh my goodness, there's nothing that I can do right. I can't do anything right. And there actually was, we were only married 5 years, but I should have probably only been 6 months or 1 day, or I probably should have walked off when I recognized it at the altar. And I'm like, well, why am I not walking off? And I wasn't walking off because the people in the room, it wasn't because of her, it wasn't because of me. I was like, I don't want to be embarrassed. And I got married for the wrong reason. And so there was a second incident of physical violence in my relationship. I'm going to go into that just really briefly. Well, first, let me just say on the first time, it was only because I wasn't adhering to what she had said that she had flipped out in the first place. It was only because, I can't tell you her perspective because I actually don't know that. All that I know is that my perspective and what that is. So I won't ever try to promote or defend her side. But in saying that, I felt like it just was because I wasn't adhering to what she had to say that explosion took place. So I remember in the second event, now this is about 2 years later. So 2 years later, and there were still the same problems and there were still the same arguments. We were still throwing the divorce card. Foul, flag on the play, divorce, we should get a divorce. I remember like, there's actually a lot of funny stories. On the second incident, I can't even tell you what it was about, to be actually really honest. But there was something said and something done where, again, I wasn't adhering to what she had to say. Now, she knew I wouldn't promote physical violence on her. And the reason why is because my biological father, my real dad, was a law enforcement officer, and he beat the smithereens out of my mother. Now, they divorced when I was really little, when I was 2 years old, and my mom remarried when I was 3. And in that instance, I had a trigger, and my trigger was guys that hit girls. I remember I'd go in the bathroom, and sometimes there was a bullet that was lingering in the cupboard of the bathroom. I remember I'd look at that bullet, and the primer was struck. And that was the time my mom tried to take her life because of her circumstances. She just wanted out. And so I got to be raised by a mother who, she had some stories, but for the most part, she wouldn't burden us with them and let us grow up making our own decisions and giving us the freedom to do that. But I watched the signs of abuse in my mother, that I knew that she was severely abused. I had watched that, and that's what I grew up with. So I grew up being a defender and a protector. No wonder I joined a religious movement. No wonder I joined politics. I was a defender and a protector. I stood up for the valuable things of what was right, and I'd go to any cost to defend people's liberty and their justice, their freedom, and who they were. And so the second time, again, I didn't adhere to what she had said. We got in an argument, and she skyrocketed. I remember that in the attempt to come at me, that she had knocked my 1-year-old daughter over on the ground. I picked my 1-year-old daughter up in my arm, and she was hitting me and trying to strike me in the groin while I had my daughter in my arm. And there was just a point where she just lost control and was going at me, regardless of what I did. And after about 20 or 30 strikes, I returned. Like, it was the worst thing in the world, and I didn't hit her that hard, but I definitely was trying to get her attention. And she went to the floor, and she called one of our local church leaders in the area at that time. Now, this is where the story gets really funny. I escort myself into the garage, and I go work out in the garage with my daughter. And I could hear her wailing on the floor still. And I was like, wow, she's going to take that one to the extreme. Now, my church leader comes over at the time. He's a 3rd degree in black belt, defender and a protector. And I remember the way that he came and took a stance in my garage. Said, "You hit your wife?" And I said, "Well, let me tell you the story." And he de-escalated. He looked like he was going to whoop my flipping butt. Like, he looked like he was just going to trash me. And I was like, "What? Can you just get my side real quick?" And I was calm, and I told him my side of what happened. He said, "I'm going to go see if that's right." And he goes inside, and I hear him getting cursed at. "You're not this, you're not that, get out of my house." And he said, "I need to make sure that, everything's okay. That when I leave here, that we don't need to call the police and everything's okay." "No, you're here, everything's fine." And she admitted to hitting me so many times, or a few times, or whatever it was. And that situation was, he said, "Oh, just, come see me and we'll work this out." Now, I had the view, and it was my view. It's mine. It was mine. I was like, man, if I have God in my life, I could work anything out. If I have God in my life, I'm going to get through this. And so we were only married for 5 years. I'm going to tell you some other events in my life where I felt either taken advantage of, or I felt used, or I felt abused. I had this business partner who, I guess we never really had clear paths on what role was filled and what was what and who did what. And it was always just kind of loosey-goosey. And I was business partners with him for a couple of years. And we had a couple of $1 million on the books at that time. And I was in my days of success. Well, I was going to jump to my next venture. And I actually fulfilled, didn't matter what the ratio split was. We were 50-50 when it came to payouts. But I probably did 99% of the work. And when I came to payouts, we had a few jobs left. We had 5 left on the books. And I said, "Hey, can you close these jobs? I'm going to jump to my next venture, and I'm going to go over here and do this." And we had $100,000 to collect. And out of that, it wasn't 50-50. I had some borrowed assets and monies that I had. So it was 25-75. 75 was his, was really 24 was mine. And I left. And here we are 10 years later, and I never been paid my $24,000. When I paid him over and over and over and over and over and over for things he didn't do, but I kept my word and my integrity to him. And then the second I leave him on his own, he takes one to me. And I remember, I still think about that, and I'm like, wow, how do I track this stuff in my life? I'm going to move on to another business experience where I was taken in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, where events unfolded and unplayed, and it never really matters how. Sometimes it definitely does matter. But I could walk through and show the accusations that he's pointing out at me and say, well, those are true. but that doesn't disqualify me as a business partner, or that doesn't do this, or that doesn't do that. And the business partner relationship ended. It was my business. I started it. I founded it. I said, hey, you helped me on this business, and that business failed. And why don't you come in this business, because now I could grant you a reward, and then ended up being completely taken advantage of. And I was like, whoa, how did that happen to me? I've had events in my life that I have somehow attracted. And I'm like, what is this? Do you have any events you want me to share that I've taken on my side and said, wow, I've been wrong? Do you have anything that you want me to point out real quick before I jump to the next section?
Could you be a salesman who you gave every opportunity and opened up too far? Your whole business and everything like that.
Yeah. That brought up a couple of them. I'm going to share a couple more experiences with you before I switch gears. I remember I hired this one sales guy. Whew, it was a stressor. Like, it worried me. He had a rap sheet miles long. I'm like, you've done what? Are you serious? And I changed. That's not me, though. This is me today. If you want to judge that in the past, that's fine, but this is me today. And I'm like, and that's kind of what I stand with crap, what they did to get there, or what they had to learn, or the hard knocks they took, or the lessons they learned. And I'm like, all right, let's see where this goes. And he started flying. He was doing so good. And then he'd go to overstep his bounds, and I'd correct him. Like, oh, that's not, you don't fulfill that role or responsibility in the business, you do this. And then he'd start sailing, and he'd overstep his bounds. And I'm like, we don't do that. That's not your responsibility. That's actually the owner's responsibility. That's mine. I take that on. I do that. And he'd go on flying. And I remember one day he went off the handle. And he did something that was a 100% owner responsibility. And I remember my lid kind of flipped a little bit. Just imagine that real quick, what that looks like just for my personality. When it flipped, it went, oh! And I'm like, you're fired. Like, you can't keep overstepping on my territory and my grounds as the owner of this company. This is my company, my insurance, my responsibility. You brought in that client as a salesman, but everything falls on me. The buck stopped until that point. I can look back and say, hey, everything was growing process, everything. There were a few hiccups along the way, but it was fine. This is when the most hurtful things in my life have come to myself. Because where do they go? They put on this show that they were this person, but that whole past of everything they did was staring me at the face. Oh, I'm that person again. Now you ticked me off. I'm that person. Now I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And I'm like, whoa, what did I get myself into? I'm going to go into the realms of coaching just for a second. I'm going to open up a door of vulnerability here. I'm going to speak very openly. I've learned through hard circumstances who to coach and who not to coach. I've learned the people who say, hey, I want help and I don't really want help. I'm not going to progress. Hey, I'm saying that I want help, but I didn't know that I didn't want help. And hey, I want help. What am I doing? How do I do this? And you help them. one of my biggest hardships that I faced is helping someone who didn't want help and mixing it with the realms of sex. We were flirting over here with this, and over here where I was like, hey, I got my Superman cape on, I can help you. And I commingled those areas. And without anyone's judgments falling upon me, I was in a place where I didn't even recognize that I was hurt and that I was acting upon other things. Well, that didn't end so well for myself either. I remember in one hand, I was like, now I know I can help this girl over here. And I know I want this over here. And then they were commingled. And then when I went in to help her, it didn't end so well. She's like, I told her some truths to bring some things together of things that she told me. She had lost her job. She had lost her kids. Her parents hated her. And she just kind of spilled all this out. And I was like, oh, I need to help her. But then in the natural guy arithmetic, this was still open over here. Now I told her some things, like, long story short. So you know that all these things aren't a coincidence? Like, it's not possible for you to lose your kids. It's not possible for you to go through your divorce. It's not possible for you to lose your job. It's not possible for your parents to hate you. You're the problem. That blew up in my face. And I told her some things that were so hard for her to hear that they were dramatic for myself. And I've seen when people, they take a step and then they turn around and go into the reverse cycle of how they got there in the first place. And they're like, I'm going to continue this over here on you. And I'm like, whoa. And in my life that I had to accept myself for who I was. And I said, oh, I'm not perfect. And I have my own weaknesses. And I should never, ever commingle those things together ever again in my life. Because it was so dramatic for me. And I was like, so there's some refining that I've had to do along the way. There was some awakening that I had to do along the way. But along the way, I had to say, how am I here? Why are all these things showing up in my world? Why do these things keep showing up in my world? And I had to turn. I was divorced. I couldn't come and dump it on my ex-wife. I taught in my coaching about codependency. So I taught it in such a way that I was cutting strings everywhere and I was just alone. And I couldn't dump my stuff off anywhere. And I was like, what are these cycles that we go through? How do we not get what we want? How do these patterns keep showing up over and over and over and over and over again? And I had to sit and look in the mirror and look myself in the eye and look at the problem. That I was the problem. So I'm going to tiptoe my way into Bella V's and my relationship. So Bella V, so I've dated 2 girls in the last 5 years that got me to take a step. And when I say take a step, I mean like, hey, you could possibly be the one. I'm going to take one step to you. and we'll see how things go, and your commitment levels, and you're going to come to my commitment levels, and we'll just play it out. And they didn't work out, obviously, but no matter if there's a God that exists, no matter if universal law comes and slaps you in the face, or if it's God that says, wake up, no matter what in my world, for good, I would take credit for that, by the way, or for bad, no matter what kept showing up over and over and over, I was a tough guy. I am a tough guy. I could take on a room of 4 guys that wanted to brawl, and I'd be like, no problem. And any problem that came my way, I would bulldoze my way through it. And I'd bulldoze my way through it. And I'd bulldoze my way through it. Bellevue was the first person that I'm like, well, I don't want her to run, and I don't want to run. And I'd look at her and every gift that she had to offer, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to start facing my fire. I'm going to stare my fire in the face, and I'm not going to run. I'm going to walk through this thing. Has it been easy?
No, not even close.
What has it been?
It's been difficult.
At times or all the time?
Time. Lots of times. Most of the time.
But then she gets me to a space that I want to walk through. And I look at my own weaknesses, and I'm able to go into a space and actually talk to you about it.
In his bulldozing, he would try to bulldoze me. And I'd be like, oh, that's not going to work for you. It's not going to work well. I was kind, but I was like, nope. See this boundary right here? That's not going to happen. You can leave. That's okay. You can leave. But if you'd like to stay, you can settle down and not try to bulldoze me over. Yeah. But I did it in a loving way. It wasn't like, fighting or anything like that. I was just like, interesting. Yeah. Oh, do you see what you're doing right here? Do you see so many things that he did not see that he was doing? Just like any of us. We see, there's so many things we go, oh, I didn't realize I did that. Oh, did I do that? Or he would spit something at me and I said, oh, interesting. You just did that to me. Huh. And he'd go, what? And he was getting mad at me for something that he had done. And he was like, oh, I didn't do that. And then he'd be like, oh, I did do that. And he'd be like, oh my goodness. Wow, I did do that. That's why it irritated me that you did that, because I was doing that. So many things that he would do, I would have to just gently open up his eyes to show him, hey, this is what you're doing. Hey, this is how this side feels. I know how your side feels, but this is how this side feels. Open up. And I would be like, open your eyes. Let me walk you through this on my end, So, yeah, it was difficult.
It's getting better. Way to think. We keep making progress to where we want to be. I had to stare myself in the face, look myself in the eye, call myself by name, and say, where is my brokenness? Why am I responding this way? Why, no matter what she says, I'm on defense? Why am I always accusing or feeling like I'm being accused? And I had to start digging inward. Why am I broken? Where am I at? And I had to start digging and finding maybe some things that I buried. Why does this kind of stuff keep showing up in my life? I'm going to make another confession real quick. after my divorce, I'd go around and I would just consider my marriage very abusive mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, only on a couple of occasions physically. I always knew when I did something wrong. I remember on my divorce, the night I decided to separate from my wife, we go into a meeting with our bishop, and she says, I want a divorce. And he says, oh, that's nice. Well, why do you want a divorce? Well, he didn't read his scriptures every day this week. He only read them 3 days this week. And if he can't read them every day, that's not good enough for me. And I was like, oh, I'm giving her that one this time. And I'm like, that one's hers. And then she'd hold things against me. Well, I know you won't leave me because you would never break your word. Or I know you won't leave me because you just wouldn't abandon your daughters, or which I wouldn't, absolutely not. They're my biggest priority in my life that my heart's linked to. And I had to look at myself and say, well, what is going on inside of myself? Why am I reacting this way? Do you know, as my study in quantum physics went off the rails and off the charts, and I went so deep in quantum physics, and I studied neuroscience so much, that we respond and we react and we do things that we're subconsciously or unconsciously doing, and we don't really know why we're doing it or why we react that way or how those things happen.
Sometimes it's self-protection.
Sometimes it is self-protection.
Our mind creates a story that this is protecting us, right? This is protecting us. This is going to protect me, even though it's doing the most hurt to yourself.
And that you are actually hurting yourself. You know how many times I thought I was protecting myself against her? And not only was I hurting her, I hurt myself. And I was able to look at that and be like, I'm my worst enemy. I thought I was doing this to protect myself, or I thought I deviated this way because it was safe for me. And it wasn't. And I didn't realize it until after the fact. I could go back and guided meditations and everything that I do and look at myself unbiasedly and love myself and care for myself and give myself everything I need. And I can look at that and say, what really happened there? And what was that? And why did I do that?
And so many people have a hard time doing that, right? So many people have a hard time looking in, saying, why did I do that? Or what is this? So many people just continue on the self-sabotage or continue on the self-abuse. And why did I, and then you go into just not really loving yourself, saying, why I keep doing this? Why do I keep doing this? Instead of really searching inside. Like, it could be the smallest thing that you could find and go, wow, that trimmed all the way through here, that my brain went, I'm protect, which actually caused so much problems just over this teeny small little itsy bitsy hurt, or this little small thing that you did, this whole thing that caused a holy moly in your life. Like, what is happening? And so many people just have a hard time really seeing it truly inside, seeing their darkest, seeing their light, seeing anything. See, in society, aren't we taught to not be proud, not be so proud, not be this. It's okay to look at somebody's faults. It's okay to look at our faults. It's okay for all of that. But they don't really promote, it's okay to be you. It's okay to be the biggest light in you. It's okay that you have that dark side. It's okay to work through that and have that light. So many people see a light and they want to knock you down. They go, huh. And the sad part is that causes us inside to have turmoil because we want to be our best selves. We want to have the light, but yet we're going to do the same thing that everybody else does, right? Throw a rock at ourselves. Not have self-love, not have unconditional love for ourselves, right? Everybody wants unconditional love, but they don't know how to get it. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to even put it outward, send it out, send that vibration out. They don't know how to really, really love somebody else. And it's because we're so hard on ourselves that we cannot love unconditionally without loving ourselves unconditionally. Once we love ourselves and say, it's okay that I have that dark side. It's okay that I have all that stuff. I will work through it. I will continue to work through that dark side. It's okay. We all have it, and we can work through it and keep progressing and love ourselves. Say, it's okay. I love myself. Tomorrow, I'm going to work just that little inch, even if it's just a smidgen. The next day, I'm going to be better. I'm going to work towards that. Oh, I had a little bit of a failure. That is okay.
And it's okay.
I love myself. It's okay. Look at it as learning. I just learned something new and continue to go on. I just learned that was a little bit harder for me to go every day that way. That's okay. I love myself. Continue.
I almost feel like in our culture, we're taught that self-abuse is okay. If your left hand offend you, cut it off. If your eye offend you, pluck it out. And that's been ingrained in our culture. Like self-abuse is okay. And when we're like, take these steps forward, and I'm going to talk about a step that I did, where she's like, well, just so you know, control is not going to work in our relationship. And I say, I'm not controlling, I'm for freedom. And she says, control is not going to work in our relationship. And I'm like, but I just care about you. What's funny is when we dug deep on the caring and the relationship side, and my love for her was the 5 years after my divorce, I realized, oh, I think my ex-wife might have loved me. And I never felt it, and I never saw it, and I interpreted it differently, and I'm like, and then I was coming at you the same way that my ex-wife was coming at me. Like, oh, that was interesting. And then when we talk about it and spit our fire at each other, or just talk about it, and I would justify it in my mind. I care for her. I would always justify things in my mind in the right. I love her. Have you ever seen love from a parent to a child? I'm doing this because I love you. Or in terms of abuse, people say or do the most cruelest things, and then they disguise it with something else. I see it all the time. And I would design my control as something almost righteous. And then that was something that we had to break and work through. And she's like, I'm a Sagittarius. You just can't control me. But I had to look inward at everything that I've ever had that was broken inside of me. I want you to help me with this real quick. You want to stand up for a minute? What are some things that I have had to face that was a repeat cycle from something else, somewhere else, and I was just doing it the best that I knew how, but I didn't know the best way to do it? What are some things that, anything come to your mind that?
You can spit some out. I think anything that we've had to work through is really some part of yourself that you disguised as something else.
So I'm going to pause you real quick. Which is funny that you say that. Say it one more time real quick.
Most of the things is something that you have disguised.
So I've disguised something in the name of probably something good that's actually something really dark. I took my darkness and I put cover-up makeup on it and just put jewels on it and I said, oh, I'm beautiful. I'm righteous. I stand for all the right things. I was doing all the right things. But then I had this twist. I call it a quantum entanglement. As something does appear to be good, it actually had this twist that was coming from a dark place. And I not only did I have to face those, I had to break them, or we were going to break probably. And I had to find out where they came from. Why do I believe this about myself? Well, why do I believe this at all? Where has this thing come from? Much of it goes back to childhood.
It's true. Most things that we are broken is from childhood. It is something so small that even something that you might not even remember 1, 2 years old, something else stemmed back that you have to go, wow. And then you can almost go down your timeline and say, it happened here. Because then I felt this, and then when this happened again, and this happened again, and this happened again, and all these different ways, but it still was the same type of thing. You say, wow, like this, all these things are playing out, which is stemming back from that one little thing, which you'll try to mask it. You'll try to mask any kind of hurt. You'll try to mask
We're taught to
any kind of anything.
To bury our hurt.
Right.
Like, oh, our hurt. We try to run from our hurt.
Yeah. Some people say, I need to face this? What? No. And they're booking it, right?
Yeah.
And so at a young age, I always ran into the fire. I was like, if I run into that fire, I can get to the other side quicker. I need to get through whatever it is. We will just go. And that is how I broke through so many of my own things, looking inside, looking at me, saying, what did I do wrong? I look at the other person and go, well, that wrong did. I never did that. I always looked at myself. I said, in this situation, what did I do? And many people would look at me and say, you did nothing wrong. You did absolutely nothing wrong. And I would say, no, that's not true. There is something that I did that could have triggered, could have stemmed, could have done something. And so instead I looked inside myself and said, oh, that's that place, that's that dark side that I don't want. Oh, that's the hurt that I see. Oh, that's what I did. I did this. I did that. And I went, oh, ouch. But I also said, I didn't know, right? So many times if we don't look inside ourselves, I didn't know what I did. I did not know that I did that. I did not know that I hurt that person. I did not know what I did. The smallest little thing caused a chain reaction to hurt that person. And I went, oh, wow, looking deep inside. Yes, sometimes it hurt. I did not mean to. I did not want to be that person. And that's where you have to go self-love. You have to say, I did not know. I am so sorry that I hurt that person. And then you say, okay, I'm going to move on. I'm going to be better. Now that I see it, now that I recognize it in myself, I am no longer going to do that. I am not going to do that.
And what was I doing? I was actually, and I didn't realize it because I always accuse my ex-wife of this, and I'm like, you're such a victim. You're a victim to oxygen. You're a victim to this and this. And she was the biggest victim to me. But what was I doing?
You were doing the thing.
I was doing the same thing. I was playing victim to her.
He was. And I was like, huh, that's interesting. Yeah, you're doing that same thing. And I'm doing the, and he'd be like, what? I am not the victim. And I'm like, huh. Well, this that you just said is kind of the same thing that your ex said, and kind of the same thing that this person said, and this. And you do it in such a loving way that you're bringing forth the truth, but it is always the way that you bring forth it, right? If you try to come to it and be like, this is the truth, people are going to be like, I don't think so. They block you out, right? You would block somebody out. If somebody came to you and said, I see your darkness, and this is your problem, you're going to immediately be like, walls up, no way, right? But if you come at it as, wow, I'm surprised you're doing that. Oh, well, you're talking to me about that way. Oh, wow. Well, I kind of see it like this. I see this and I see this, and this is how I see it. And then it's interesting because it's more like you plant a seed, right? You're not hitting somebody hard. You're just like, this is kind of this little seed. This is the little bit that I see. This is what I see. And you let them think about it, right? Because if you come at force, you come out any other way, without softness, without kind gloves, it's going to go the opposite direction. You go to it in just the smallest way and just be like, well, I'm sorry that you see it that way. But this is kind of how I see it.
Can anyone answer for me why I could come at my situations in a victim mentality and what my brain was trying to protect? Can anybody see that paradigm yet? Why is it that we take the stance of victimhood and we could paint the picture perfectly, I must say? I could tell my story absolutely perfectly that everybody was in the wrong. My business partner, my other business partner, my ex-wife, and anyone else was in the wrong except for me. Like I was the perfect victim. I could do it perfectly. My brain was trying to protect me. This is the brain's number one job, is to protect you, And how do these things keep coming in my realm? How do I break that?
And that's what people have to get to that point. Because no matter what, you can say, I want this fixed. I want that. I don't understand how this is coming in. But you have to be at that level to say, why? He came to me and he was in tears. I don't know why this is happening. Why is this? Why do I do this? Why is this in my realm? And I said, do you really want to know? Right? Because as he was saying, don't help somebody that really don't want the help. They may say it, but they're not ready for it, right? So many people want that, but they're not quite at that on my knees help, And so I said, do you? I always will ask, are you sure? Do you really want this? Do you really want this answer?
Because if I'm not, and whatever she says, guess how I'm going to respond to that? How am I going to respond if I feel like she's coming at me in an attack now? I'm going to blow up. The sparks are going to fly. It'll be the 4th of July on Christmas Eve. And we're like, well, I thought there was Santa Claus and not fireworks. And that would happen if I really didn't want to know. And I was in a space where I'm like, I've never wanted anything more. I don't want to lose you. And there's no other girl in this world that's ever caught my attention or got me to take more than one step. And I kind of want to run.
He would say that. I want to run.
But at the same time, I don't want to lose you.
You can.
And I wanted to run. And then you made me want to stay. And I'm like, yeah, I really want to know. I'm ready. And I'm talking brokenness. I'm talking my hurt that I took upon me from a child or from any relationship I was on, and I projected it in all of my life. We walked through this and how I did it to my ex-wife and all my relationships and my business partners, and I was actually in the wrong. We walked through it. We were able to walk through anything and everything and touch all things.
But I allowed him to have that space, right? So when you're in that point, so many people don't have that many people in their life, right? That you could open up literally your most vulnerable, your darkest, anything to the very depth of your soul. How many people do you know that you do that with? Most people mask it. Most people hide it. Most people say, I don't have that person. I don't have that to be able to open up and say those things. I want to. I want that, but they're scared of judgment. They're scared of all these other things. And you're just like, when you have self-love, you can love others to that depth. And you can say, it is okay. When he was telling me his just the darkest, and I was leading him, guiding him through his darkest and who the darkest parts of his soul. And he was like, oh, I cannot believe this. Like, I did not see that part of myself. I masked it. I put makeup on. I put everything. But yeah, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. We all have the dark side. We all have like that. But the sad part is not everybody has it to where somebody that could be, it's okay. It's okay that you have that. Now let's work through it. Let's get rid of that dark side. If you obviously don't want it, let's get rid of it. Let's completely get rid of it. Let's work through it. Let's find out why that dark side is there to begin with, right? So many people don't know why that dark side is there. They try to mask it. They try to find other ways.
Yeah. Everything that I ever accused someone else of, we were able to go through and turn it. Oh, I'm the victim. Oh, I'm the user. Oh, that's how I am an abuser. Oh, I didn't care about them. Oh, I didn't care about their beliefs. I just wanted what benefited me. I wanted to protect myself and what benefited myself. That's what my brain does. And we were able to turn that around and say, oh, wow, I have all that in my life. Or I'm that.
That's why he attracted that. He attracted so much.
The universe is just trying to teach you. Things keep showing up in your realm until you can break it. It's just trying to get you to progress. The universe or God or what you may have of it. Progression on all sides is our natural state of existence. It's what we're here to do, is progress. And these things keep showing up in our realm over and over until we learn the things that we have to, until we can face the fire and realize that, hey, I'm shackled. I'm not even a free man.
You may feel free in the moment. You'll paint
freedom.
Your picture. Yeah, you'll paint your picture of
it's an illusion of it.
Right. But deep down, that's why people have the depression. That's why people have all that stuff. That's why people have the anxiety. They are so much because they have really shackled themselves. But it's also because they don't have somebody that they can let that all out, that can walk them through that can say, it's okay. It's okay to be that. It is okay. This is why you have that. This childhood thing, this in your whole life. It's okay to have that. This is why it has stemmed back to that. It's okay to have that dark side. So many things cause that dark side to exist to begin with. Let's work through this. Let's work through this. Let's work through that. That dark side that you feel so bad to have will no longer be there if you work through it. Now, this is why I have stepped in with what he has wanted and created this Elevate, is because so we can provide people with that safe place to be able to say, this is me, this is my dark side. I need help. I need to get through that. I don't want to be my dark side.
Or I don't know why this is showing up.
I don't know. I don't want that life. I want epic. That's what I used to tell everybody. I want epic. I don't want all that bad stuff. I don't want any of that. But you have to really look inside and find the darkest parts and release those. And you will literally feel like a chain coming off. You say, whoa. that one chain, that one thing we just worked through, just broke. And you're standing there in shackles, and one chain breaks, and another chain breaks, and then you're getting lighter, and you're working through so much that you need to work through. And then eventually you're just going to be like, I am free. I am that person. I am my light. I have been able to release and understand that it's okay to have that dark side because I didn't know I had it. I didn't know what I did. But it would be so many little things, and I can let it go and work through it.
Yeah. I didn't even know what it was, but I wanted to find it finally in my life. What is it? How do I dig deep down? I buried it so far. It's centuries into my soul, so deep into my soul. I'm like, I don't even know how to find it. And then we provide the tools and techniques and the safety and the love and the non-judgment to say, hey, we live the law of acceptance. You accept yourself for how you are. We accept you for how you are. And there's no wrongdoing here. All there is learning.
Absolutely.
I'm learning to become my best self. I'm going to go back into an experience when I wanted to break. We just did a bunch of digging on me, and I'm like, wow, I'm all of those things. And then I turned to her, and I'm like,
he tried to go into self-abuse. I am this horrible person, right? I am so horrible. I said, no, we're not going there. Absolutely not. You are not that at all. And I said, stop. Don't even go into that. It's okay for all of this, and we will work through it. And you're just barely recognizing it. You're seeing for what it really is. That is okay. That is so okay. And then once you recognize it and you see what it is and what it stemmed from, you can release it. You can say, I don't need to be that anymore.
I could break it.
Break that chain.
Have you ever had the experience like thousands of pounds of chains were coming off of you? And you're like, wow, that was a heavy weight. Did I really carry that before? Did I carry it for that long? Wow, that's been there since I was 5 years old. Wow, that's been there since I was 11. Wow, I had that experience when I was 15. You know that these things have an actual weight that burden our soul. And we're like, oh, I'm depressed.
Because you own to self-abuse, right?
Oh.
Just like everybody else that you're expecting to throw rocks at you, right? Put you on that to be crucified, right? We don't want to don't crucify. Just know we all have that. We all have things that we have to work through. And it's okay to be that way. It's okay. And just step into that.
As I step into it and go through the fire, my emotional intelligence elevates. It becomes higher. I don't get triggered the same way. Have I made any progress?
Yeah. And it's what's funny is because some things that have triggered previous. And that's another sign that you're working through stuff. And that's what I would try to explain to him. I'm like, don't spit your fire. There is a reason why you're getting triggered. That person doesn't deserve your fire. Go, why did I get triggered? That's how you work through things. And that's how so many times I try to say, this is how I did it all on my own. I looked at myself. I went, whoa, why did I act that way? Why did I get triggered? Why did that affect me that way? And say, and then I would dig and I would find it and go, whoa, okay, that person did not deserve that. But yet so many times, what do? We spit our fire. And what does that do? That causes more hurt for that person.
And for you and for everything around you.
Everything. It just triggers. And it causes everything in your world, like that woman who lost her kids and lost her parents and all that kind of stuff. You go, well, what did I do? Well, instead of looking inward, they were spitting all their hurt out to everybody else. Instead of going, I need to own that. What is that? And so I would tell him, you'll know when you've broken so many things is when you stop and you don't spit your fire and you go, why did that trigger me? Why is that? And instead you look inside and you go, oh, that's from here, here, here. And you don't cause any more hurt. You don't try to dump it on anybody else.
I'm going to make a really bold claim that every negative emotion or feeling that is felt in any scenario is revealing a brokenness or a hurt inside of you. If you have a negative feeling, all of them, it's revealing a hurt or brokenness inside of you. They are reflecting to you that instance, that circumstance, that person, that situation is a reflection to you of something that you need to turn to yourself and look within. My phrase, heal the hurt, heal the world, was created by recognizing that no problem in this world exists except that it's one person's hurt being projected and dumped onto another person. It's unresolved hurt, unresolved trauma. I was helping a rape victim. She just went on this first date. She was just raped. The gentleman was walking out of the room, walked down the hallway, went to the front door. She was looking at him to leave, and he stood there and looked at the door. And then he fell to his knees and collapsed for what he just did. And she said, I realized he was just her. And then he just took that out on me, and I don't know what that was. What childhood experience did he suffer? What is he going through? And without just coming and attacking him. And then it revealing a hurt that she had of how the situation even entangled itself or how it got there. And that there were just two hurt scenarios that collided into each other to have an experience that revealed more hurt and more brokenness. And everything in the world is just hurt, revealing itself upon to then win to others. If we could take every instance that's happened in your life, and this is what we do as coaches, and we say, what is coming into your world? What do you hate? What's being attracted to you? What's the traumas that have happened to you? And we do the trail backwards.
Because so many people don't know how to do that. Right? So many people do not know how to dig deep into themselves. They know the fluff. And your brain will naturally give you fluff. Because your brain will be like, I'm on protection mode. Let's not pull that out. That might hurt. Right? So our brain's naturally going to say, no, I'm going to live up here on this little fluff. And everybody's bad and I am good. Right?
And it's the illusion of it. And then we create a belief upon that illusion. And it becomes a belief pattern that we play out for the rest of our life. Because we have evidence that shows, well, that's true. So my belief in why I'm this way, or why I'm not worthy, or why I'm not lovable, or why I'm hurt, or why I'm broken, or why I'm not good enough, or why nobody accepts me, or every belief that we have about ourselves has an evidence that has that fluff, right? That illusion of something that happened that we're like, well, it happened to me, so I'm going to go in protection mode, so this is true, because that's the result of what I saw. And then we dig. And then we dig to somebody who wants to heal. Can you heal someone? Do we have any power to come and heal you?
You have to heal yourself. We just show you how to get there. You have to walk through that fire. We're going to show you the fire, and we're going to say, it's okay. You can walk through that fire. I will be there. I'll be there on the other side. But you have to walk through that fire. And it's okay. It's okay to be that. It's okay to walk through that fire. And once you do that, amazing. You walk through one fire and you go, I got this.
So
Next one I'm gonna run through, right?
we do a ministry for some of the prisons and jails and things like that, and we go in and do some therapy type techniques for them. And one of the number one things that we saw were that the people didn't know why they were doing what they were doing. They were just in reaction mode. They could say, okay, I did that. They have no clue why they did that thing. They were reacting from their hurt or from their brokenness, and they didn't know what to do with it, so something happened. Oh, I want to convert every jailhouse there is in the world into a therapy center. Where did their hurt come from? How did they break that thing? Going to jail doesn't do the perpetrator any good, and it doesn't do the victim any good. Time spent. But that person comes out, and we talk to a lot of judges, and they say, oh, they come out and then they go back in for the same flipping thing. And they spend their time and they go out and then they go back in. And I know we're working with many people who have been in and out of jail for the same thing forever, for their whole life, 30, 40, 50 years. And they don't know why. Sitting in there is not doing them any good. They can't find it themselves. They don't even know what they're looking for. I know what I want. I want freedom. I want this. I want a good life. I want a good relationship, but I don't even know how to attract it in my life. And then I'm this person. And I'm just this bundle of hurt or brokenness. And then we look at it and say, how did this trauma come into my life? And we're able to take that trauma and just look at it like a prism. And we look at it from a bunch of different lights, experimenting with different things that feel like they align with your truth and with your belief, things that serve you and honor you, where you're progressing to, and steps that you're capable of taking. And we say, how did this thing come in your life? And so often in our coaching, we hear, they're like, oh, I know how I attracted that. Well, I had this event, and I know when I invited that to come in my life, because I wanted to try to figure this out or prove this thing, or I needed to be the perfect victim. Because being a victim served me or honored me at that time in my life. I accepted that thing to come into my realm. I invited it, I attracted it, or I accepted it to be there. Why do we do that to ourselves? Why are we so okay saying that we can punish ourselves? That was funny. Where was that coming from? Gavin, there's an echo. We invite it, we attract it, we accept it to be there. And then not going into self-abuse, staying in a space of love. How do we get the love for ourselves to set certain boundaries in our lives? With this relationship, with that relationship, with this relationship, with that relationship. How do we get to a place to care for ourselves so certain things could come? So we no longer have these patterns showing up. We break them. We find them. We see them for what they are. We break them because they don't serve us and they're only hurting us. They're only going to continue hurting us. And whatever came in our life, we say, oh, I want something better for myself, or I want something higher for myself. And realizing that we really are magnetic, electronic bodes of humanism that attract all this stuff into our realm. What's God's purpose? What's the universe's purpose? Why are we here? What are we to overcome? What are we to become? What are we becoming? Am I going down? Am I staying stuck? Can I set myself free? And there's some things that we've set myself completely free in it, and I can feel it, and I'm like, wow, that thing will never come into my life. And no matter what it was, and I've had some traumas come into my life, I could look at that and I could say, thank you for showing up in my life. Thank you, ex-wife. Thank you, crazy girl that I tried to coach. Thank you, business partners. I love you. Thank you for showing up the way that you did. And then it's being able to stand in a place where I'm like, I'm not sure how that would affect me if it showed up again. And it could show up again.
You'll be tested. Absolutely.
But it's not going to be that place of hurt that wherever we're hurt, it's going to come, it's going to penetrate through my electromagnetic field that I have all this armor on and protected myself with, and energy of faith and hope and enthusiasm and love and care and self-empowerment, that this realm that I've created for myself, it's not going to come in.
You're going to recognize it because of everything else, right? You're going to recognize it and say, oh, that's interesting. Oh, I'm being tested. Am I going to pick up that hurt again? Am I going to go back into that? Or am I going to say, no, thank you?
Am I going to start?
I have reached. Yeah.
Am I going to start writing a new algorithm for my life? So often people say, oh, I love you with all my heart. I don't know what that means. Their level could be here or here or here or here or here.
And depending on people's brokenness and how people don't know how to love, right? They're going to love you only to the ability that they know how.
That they know how. If they've never experienced love, if they came from a life of abuse, if they came from a life of, let's just leave it there, abuse, they might not know how to love, but they might love you with their whole heart.
And they might say, I can only accept love because it looks like this. If I see it look like this, that means you love me, right? The hard part is we're putting expectations when somebody is loving you to the degree that they can, and you're putting an expectation up too high, right? No, there should be no expectations. And this is what I was trying to teach him too about love. I said, when we went through it, I said, no. He'd say, you need to love like this. And I said,
Control.
Oh, you're doing your control. Okay. You're going to try to tell me how to love you. Really? Is that how that's going to work? Huh. I said, how about you just step back and you watch and see how I love my children, how I love anybody, other people. You watch and you see, if I do that to you, you should recognize that I love you. See, but so many people have that expectations, like it has to look like that.
If you love me, you would do this.
The sad part is we're hurting ourselves, because what happens? We put that particular love expectation on others, and we say, "You don't love me," and they're like,
That's what I did to my ex-wife.
What do you mean? I don't love you, and then it causes our heart to hurt. It causes the other person's heart to hurt. And you just go, whoa. It just affects so many things just to have the expectation on love. So if you step back and you say, no expectation, I'm going to watch. I'm just going to learn you. That's what I kept saying. Learn. In order for you to become in tune with somebody, in order for you to even know how that person thinks or anything, what do you have to do? You have to learn them, right? Just like anything. I need to learn you. You step back and you don't say anything. You watch and you say, that was interesting. That person acted like that. I wonder why they stemmed from that. I wonder why they did that. See, so many people will automatically spit fire, right? Trigger fire going. And instead of going, I wonder why that person did that. Well, it could be because of this. Could be just they had a bad day and they were spitting something at you, and you have no idea how their day really was, right? And they had no intention to really hurt you, but yet you're going, what? I could have spit fire back. And what would that have done? Just cause hurt. Instead of just going, you know what? I'm going to give that person the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to step back and go, I'm not sure really why you act that way, but I'm going to watch you. And I'm going to pay attention, and I'm going to see, is that going to come up somewhere else? And then you can naturally see why people get triggered. If you just, even in relationships, any kind of relationship that you are in, whether it's a sibling relationship, whether it's a love relationship. And that is how you can become so in tune with someone. So many people say, I want that. I want that connection. I want that. I want to be that with somebody. But it's because we're not stopping and seeing what they're really doing. We're not learning them. We're putting an expectation on how they're supposed to be instead of just learning.
And sometimes we do that from a place of hurt, from a place of being whole. When that person shows up, no matter what it is, you're able to look at it from a place of wisdom. That once upon a time did hurt me, but I learned and I progressed. And now when that thing shows up, it's not hurt anymore, it's wisdom. So now I can observe that person for what they are. I can observe that person without emotionally being controlled and my entire thing to spit my fire or do this or do that or do that. And when we develop that self-love and self-care, when we protect ourselves, when those things show up,
this is when we can have those boundaries. So many people say, I don't know how to have boundaries with that person that I love. I love this person, and I love this person, and I love this person. And we look at it like the way that we love them, right? And we don't recognize how they're loving. And you say, okay, the way that person loves me hurts. That hurts me. And you have to say, I'm still going to love you, but I'm going to set you here. See, this is my bubble. You will have multiple rings around you, right? And you'll say, I love you. I do. With all my heart, I love you. But with your love, that kind of hurts. And I need to put you in this boundary here. And if you can keep people in those and look at it as a ring around you and say, you belong here based on what you've shown me, based on the way that you've shown me how you love, how you're, affecting my life. I'm not going to boot you out. I'm not going to hate you. I'm not going to nothing. I'm still going to love you, but I'm going to love you here. And so anything that they do will not affect here, your closest inner circle.
Where your peace dwells, where your happiness dwells, where your love dwells.
And then there's no expectation. There's no nothing. There's no hurt that they can do to you. You can say, you're there. I see where you're at. I see where you're at. And that's okay. I'm going to love you for right where you're at, and you're going to be there, and that's okay. But I'm going to keep this peaceful. I'm going to keep this self-love intact. And and that's basically how you set the boundaries, is you say, you love me like this, or you do these things. And this is where I want epic love and unconditional love for myself. And because I don't feel that from you, you're going to be here. And I'm still going to love you the way that I love, right? I'm still going to love you unconditionally. I'm still going to love you here. And when you progress and you come my way as being an example, right? We're going to show an example. We're going to set boundaries to show people that they can't overstep, that we won't allow them to affect us. We're not going to allow anybody to affect us here. We are loving ourselves and saying, well, that was interesting that you tried to, pierce my heart that way. Oh, wow. Well, you're still going to stay there. And I'm still going to love you. but I'm going to go over here and I'm going to stay in my little bubble.
And from a
And
place
that's
of
okay.
from wholeness and a place from healing, when that piercing came, oh, that's interesting. Because I get to stop it now and not be emotionally affected. My emotional intelligence has increased significantly. And it allows you the ability to do that.
And you will literally say, huh, I'm not going to let that affect me. What you just did right there, you were trying to spit fire. You were trying to hurt me. Oh, I see. I'm not going to allow that. Okay, you just go right back there. And you stay there. So in each person in your life, if you are feeling sad of family members or other people or loved ones, you can learn them, watch them, learn them. If they progress, you can move them a level closer to you. But if they don't, leave them there. Keep yourself happy. Keep yourself in your bubble, in your realm, and say, it's okay that you're part of my life. I have learned. And I like to look at it as like each person in my life. What did I learn from them? What did I learn from you? What did you teach me? Even if it's in the hurt, even if it's in the spitfire. Most people, it's interesting that when they do try to spit their hurt at us, what is it that we're supposed to learn from it? To love ourselves, right? Really what it is, regardless of anything that they try to spit at us, it's for us to say, no, I'm not going to allow you to do that. I'm not going to allow you to affect me that way. Because what happens when we do allow people to affect us, right? We are in turmoil and depression and all this other stuff instead of being our true self. It's okay to stand and be in our true self. And you can try to throw rocks at me, but I love myself. It's okay for me to be me. And you just go, you belong here, you belong here. And in your whole bubble, in every person in your life, go through and say, this is where you belong. And when you become there, I see that you love me. I see that how you love me. I watched, I learned, and I said, I can't handle that kind of love, so I need you here. You're not going to go outside of my life. I'm not going to boot you from my life, but I am going to put you here. And by doing that, you're also being an example of self-love. And people will naturally be like, huh, I want that, look at that. Even when he came in and he says, I have never seen somebody who has the perfect bubble, right? What did you say?
Oh, last week when we were in our discussion, I said, well, one, she has everything exactly the way that she wants it.
And everybody else can have that too.
And it didn't matter which relationship was around her, which she has a lot of relationships that at one time didn't honor her and didn't serve her. And she started placing people where they needed to be. Now when people come into her realm, they know what her boundary is, because it was placed efficiently and where that boundary lovingly, but it couldn't be crossed. So when people come into her realm, I'm like, wow.
They don't affect me. They don't make me crumble. Nothing happens. I am still in me.
Yeah, she has the perfect relationship with her relatives, with her ex-husband, with me, with any person, any other human that can come into her realm. I'm like, wow, you really have it really good. Because when they're in your realm, no matter the chaos that's in their life, they come and they have the proper boundary set. And she has this amazing relationship with everyone in her life. It doesn't matter when they turn around that their life's in chaos. And from her perspective, where she's at, she has it perfectly, all things that she wants. And then everyone else just gets to work through their stuff until they figure it out. And so, like, if you were to say to yourself, well, this is the life that I've been given, so this must be what's meant for me, and you accept that, those things of hardships will keep showing up until we could break the patterns, break the limiting beliefs,
Find the darkest parts.
find your hurt,
Cause light.
and love it.
Mm-hmm.
Love it into healing. Love yourself into its perfect creation. Well, that person over there has never had that in their life, never had what I experienced. Well, we attract different things. How do we heal ourselves so wherever we go, we can start attracting the things that we actually want, the things that we desire, our dreams, our wishes to be fulfilled? Is that even possible, some people would ask? Because they haven't even had glimpses of that in their life. Enter this space, this place of safety, where we can help you have breakthroughs to show you that belief that you believe, that, oh, your dad says you would never amount to much. Oh, whatever it may be, whatever you took and you believed as a truth, to change that belief and to delete that, to break that programming, and to start writing a hard drive, a programming chip, however you'd see it, inside your brain, that, oh, I'm going to start writing what I really want. And I've never seen it before in my life, but I haven't committed suicide because I believe in this hope and this love, and I believe in something that I could possibly maybe kind of sort of have it. So I barely hang on to it, but I hang on the fringe between suicide and my life. But I just kind of want it because I've never experienced it in my life, but I believe that I've seen it before and I might be able to have it. And we start writing a new programming board, a mother hard drive in your body for you, so you can start taking steps that you're capable of taking in self-love, loving yourself, and self-care, giving yourself the care that you need to start attracting the life that you desire. It is absolutely possible, even if you've never tasted of goodness before. It's there, underneath the hurt. We heal the hurt and we'll heal the world. Maybe not the whole world, but your world. Your world will change. Your world will become elevated. Your emotional intelligence will become elevated. Your wisdom will become elevated. All we have to do is figure out who you are and what you want, what you're capable of getting.
Everyone is capable of getting it. That's the thing. Every single one of you is capable of having it. Of having it and being able to be yourself, love yourself, and have the amazing relationships and no longer have that hurt.
So I was a 70-30 guy. You look at my life, and 70% of it looked stunningly amazing. Like, you're like, I want to be him. He's so lucky. Money comes so easy. He's always in these amazing relationships. You look at it and be like, oh, that's awesome. And then 30% was my hurt that was buried and no one could see. That would come out through my root system, up through my trees, and I'd have this fruit in my hand. I'm like, oh, that thing's gross. Get out away from me. And I'd fall off the tree during harvest. And this scene would be created. And I'd create this chaos because I'm a master and I'm a genius. And that chaos would be created. And I'd point, boom, it's that, it's that, it's that. And I'd distract everyone who could see that fruit fall. And they never would see that it was me. They could never see that it was my dark root. They could never see that it was my brokenness or my hurt.
Because what do? We mask it, right? Because we're so terrified of the judgment. We're so terrified of everything that we will go to great lengths to mask, to show a whole nother side, right? Because
we're geniuses.
We don't like our dark side. We don't want our dark side to come out and show it. And this is another reason why we do it, because so many people cannot come out, right, and show their dark side without probably falling to their knees and feeling like they're being crucified, right? So by us doing this and us opening up and doing the life coaching and helping other people, it provides that safe space for you to say, I need help. I can open up and I can say, here's my dark side. And I'm going to say, it's okay. I love you anyways. It's okay. Let's work through that dark side so you don't have that anymore. Let's do that. Let's work through all the broken pieces. And then you no longer will have that. And you will no longer be ashamed and have to mask and create all these things just to make it look pretty, right? You'll no longer just go, I'm doing all these things to look pretty. We are here to help you have that spot and to help show you when you just say, I don't know how to get there. I don't know how to reach that spot. I don't know where that dark side came from. I don't like it. I don't want it. I don't know where it came from. And we're going to help you. And we're going to walk you through. And we're going to say, it's okay. Let's do this. Let's help you walk through that fire. And when you start to walk through that fire, it will become easier. And you will look inside yourself and say, oh, I recognize that little thing that triggered me. I recognize where it came from. And I'm going to go through that fire. And you will start doing that naturally without even us, just on your own, on little things. And you'll go, whoa, step through that fire. I can do that. I can do that. And that's how it will just continually until you no longer have that. But in the process, you do need to set up boundaries, because when you're not healed, too many people can knock you off and you don't realize it. So that is super important. You start to analyze your circle, analyze your family. A lot of people have toxic family members, super toxic, but they don't realize they're toxic. They say, I do this because I love you, right? Like what he said. I do this because I love you, right? And you're like, oh, that hurts. I don't like that, but you love them. So that's why you have to go, I can no longer allow you to do that kind of love to me. And you have to block it off. And you have to say, here's your boundary. That's where you belong. And that's when you can really, really, and then focus on yourself. And then light's going to come out and you're going to be able to work through every little thing. And anything that they do will not affect you. It will not affect you how they love you, that it hurts. You just, then you'll recognize they're just broken. They're just hurt.
And it's not really about you.
No.
And you don't have to adopt that as your truth. Like,
no.
Oh, I'm getting treated this way because I'm this.
Because usually
I'm worthless.
Do, right?
I'm this. I'm that. I deserve this. No, you don't. No, you don't.
So no,
you don't.
That. And even that person might say that to you. And that's when you have to say, no, that's not true.
I gave my power away to you once before.
Absolutely.
I'm taking my power back. It's mine. I should have never given it to you. I'm going to find every place that I've left in my life, little drips of my power, and I'm going to go back and pick it up. Thank you, Mom. Thank you, Dad. Thank you, ex-wife. Thank you, so-and-so, and so-and-so, and so-and-so. This is mine, and I'm sorry I gave it to you.
Nobody has the power to break you.
And then our self-empowerment.
Unless you allow them.
Our momentum. Our energetic fields of strength. The momentum that we start picking up increases, attracting the things that we desire, the things that we want. You are just energetic rings of whatever you've decided that is right this second.
Or what you accepted, right?
Or what you accepted, or what you attracted, or what you invited to be there, right?
Right.
Attracting these things into our life. If you're finally tired of saying, again? Flip! I got to stare at this problem. It's now showing up in my business. It's now showing up in my relationship. It's now showing up in my new person that I'm dating. It's now showing up in this. I'm so sick and tired of it. How do I break that? We start taking steps looking inward to fix the energy that we're attracting, to build this field around us that we start attracting what we desire. I did enough right that I attracted this woman in my life. I wasn't a complete wreck. We've had our hiccups. It hasn't been epic yet.
But think in your life where somebody might have come into your life, right? That you were like, whoa, they touched my heart. They really gave me that little like, I believe in God, and I believe that He puts people in your life to say, it's okay, keep going, keep working through it, right? And so instead of just those small people, which will continue to help you, we want to help you and be out there and say, here we are. We're here to help you. We are here to get you where you want to be, to have your epic. I used to tell people, search for your epic. Find that epic. You have it. You can have it. And so many people would be like, they would panic. Even in my dating, I'd say, I want epic. And they'd be like, I don't think I can give that to you. And you would say, no, you're wrong. Because in so many things, in each of our realms, right, there is perfect. It could be the smallest thing of going and dancing to a full moon on the grass, right? You can say, wow, that was epic. That feeling was epic. Whatever it is, there are little parts of epic. And you take yourself, and to help you love yourself too, once a day. Just once a day, just start. Start with doing something you want to do. Something small. Turn on the music, dance in the kitchen. And when you try to go into self-abuse or any of that stuff, just go, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to paint my fingernails. I'm going to do this other thing. I'm going to do all these things. Start with something so small until you are ready to come to us. I'm hoping that so many people will just realize and say, I can have all of it, and come here and let us help them get there. We can help.
If that safe place doesn't exist in your life, we'll be that with you side by side until you can create it and master it in your own life, and you are that thing, and you are attracting that goodness. You've overcome, you've broken free, you're becoming your best, most grandest self. That's what our organization does. I've helped a lot of people in their lives transform their entire life. Even in my hurt. I've never said I'm completely healed, but I'm healing, and I haven't, and
you haven't given up, right?
And we continue to elevate. I don't even know when that's done. I look at her and I'm like, you ain't got much further to go. And she keeps elevating and elevating and elevating. And I keep elevating and elevating and elevating. And that epic's on its way. And everything that we desire is on its way when we continue to break everything that no longer honors and serves us, that we're holding energetically inside of us. And different things show up in our lives. And we invite you in that safe space. We do one-on-one coaching to help people so no more traumas are attracted into their life. I'm going to say that everything, but really there's nothing that's not overcomable. But everything that you're doing has a story to it. There's an attachment of energy, negative or positive, to everything you do. You go eat ice cream, and it reminds you of, oh, I had this. I remember when my parents took me there. After they'd abused me, they'd take me there, I'd eat this ice cream. It was so good, and it had this amazing feeling to it. And everything that we do, negative, has a story to it. I do this because I love you. And it has a belief pattern attached to it. We teach you how to break those attachments. Everything comes into our realm. Everything comes into our realm.
But this is our mission. Our mission is to help people. It's not for money. It's not for anything else. So if there is somebody, if you are feeling broken inside, or if you need help with your dark side, if you need help to do that, contact us. We are here to help you. We are here. And if you know anybody else, let them know that hey, these people can create that safe place. You can open up. They can help you. There's no reason to go down that dark spiral. We can help you get out of it. We can help you get out. We can help you elevate. We can help you have an amazing, amazing life. Exactly where you're at, and you will feel happy and unaffected by anything around you. And how amazing is that? How amazing to have exactly what you want and nothing to affect you anywhere. How to get a hold of us.
Most of you saw our event from Facebook. We help people who show they want help. We do invitations all the time. If you're not ready now, we don't reach out and say, hey, I'm ready to help you. I'm not going to come to you, but message us. Say, I'd kind of like to know why this thing keeps showing up in my life. How did this thing show up in my life? I'd like to figure out how to get here, get there. Message us. We return 100% of messages. We're very good about that.
Even if it's the smallest, silliest little thing. Like the other day, one said, I don't know how to get to my kids. I feel so broken. I feel like I can't really get there. Her kids are with their dad. And she had the hardest time even going.
She had so many fears in place of whatever life events were going on.
That she could not, she's like, I'm sitting in my car. I can't go anywhere. I am hurt, fear, everything. And just sitting there going, I don't want to let my kids down. I can't move. I don't know how to get there. And so even some of those things that in the moment will be there and you can call and we walk you through it. And we walked her through it and she was able to go and be with her children. And so then in the next thing, and the next thing, anything that she has had to overcome, we will walk you through, even if it's just something like that you're just like, I don't know why. I need help. Just get me there. And if I can get there, I will come back to you and we will continue to work on it. So even if it's just something that you need, just to get there.
Yeah.
Just to get where you want to be, even if it's just in the moment, contact us. We can help you get there.
It's true. And in our coaching, I have a dozen people that I'm helping right this second that have our times that we meet every week. And we figure out what they need and how we can best help them. And then we always have these touch bases, these couple minute phone calls, these couple minute messages, and that's okay. Everything's a stepping process. And we are here to do that, helping people that want help to get the life that they desire, who absolutely desire. That's what we're here for. And so message us. Our name is E-Love with the number 8. So it's actually elevate, but we elevate with love. And we've given a lot of care and concern and attention to how we've built this organization. And it's through love. Nobody can hate love. And so it's E-Love and then the number 8. Look us up on Facebook, follow us. Feel free to write us a review of your experience. And we will await your message. Follow us because we send out great tidbits of these little inklings of memes each day that just start turning the brain. It starts turning the paradigm. It starts shifting yourself, in a different direction.
Even just the smallest,
Yeah.
positive. Even just the smallest of little things that just will help get you there. We'll start there. We'll on YouTube, on Facebook, on anything. We will continue to do these type of things to try to explain how to love unconditionally. How do I get there? I don't know how to love unconditionally. How can I get there? So many people don't even know how to get there on so many things that they really want, right? You want somebody to love us unconditionally, but that person doesn't know how to get there. So you need to get there. If that's what you want, you get there. And be the example. Show the unconditional love. And then they will come to your level.
And whatever energy you are, that's the energy, the level of things that you're attracting.
And if they can't get to that level, boundaries.
Boundary.
You belong there until you watch my example. And I set these boundaries. And when you elevate yourself, you can move up in my ring of boundaries.
We appreciate you joining in. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate everyone for coming and listening to this conference. We hope that you've taken something out of here. Is there anything, I'm just going to open it up for a second, that you want to ask us or that you would like to throw our way for us to maneuver, we can answer for you? Is there any questions that you guys have right now? You have anything you want to ask us or bring to our attention or back in the back? Anything?
If not, follow us, message us, because so many people just go, "Oh, I don't want anybody to see my brokenness." Right?
Our
we
culture's
are
trained.
completely confidential.
Yeah, our culture's trained to not allow people to see our brokenness. Like our brokenness should be punished. Like our brokenness should be hurt. You're already hurt, but here, let me hurt you some more. And let me do it in the name of righteousness, for example. Oh, that left arm offends thee. Let's cut it off. I mean, I don't, that self-abuse is ingrained in our culture. But please, we do invite you to reach out,
Absolutely.
Open up to us. We can't wait to hear from you. And we very much look forward to that.
Absolutely.
Gavin, we're going to close that. And
All right.
thank you for joining us.
Absolutely.